Now, I know that there's the basic argument that somebody might have that, hey, actually, you are just talking from a Western perspective, and therefore what you're saying is wrong. You need to think about the, customs and traditions of that country. I don't know how to tell you, but I don't give a shit about the customs and traditions of any country, even my own. So I guess we're going to be returning to a Brett Cooper video. We did one earlier, and it was interesting, to say the least. It was the first one I'd ever covered of her. This one is about a country that just outlawed sex outside of marriage, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at it after the fan art section. First one we have here is from Toxic Paradox 666, just said some Neko Suris fan art. Thank you very much. The next one we have here is from Mathematical Cabbage. No context given, but apparently it's cute. This is all I can say. There's definitely some thirst involved there. The next one we have here is from the Mini Canary. Homestuck Suris. I really love Mathematical Cabbage's sprite designs, so that was the motivation. Enjoy the fandom trash, everyone. Well, thank you very much, the Mini Canary. As always, everybody, thank you all for your fan art submissions. If you want your fan art to be shown in a future video, the best way to do so is to drop it in the fan art section of the Discord. With that said, let's go ahead and get right into the content after you hit the subscribe button and hit the bell notification icon. Also, Kitsune Cavalier, thank you for redeeming 500 channel points for an owl. Alrighty, let's go ahead and see which country just outlawed sex outside of marriage, and if there's some really, really good perspective that Brett Cooper can give us. Or maybe there won't be any.
Welcome back to the comment section. I'm Brett Cooper. Guys, I have very sad news for all of you. Sex is banned in Indonesia.
Yeah, they had us the first half, I'm not gonna lie.
Well, actually, sex before marriage is banned in Indonesia, and people on the internet are very riled up about it because I think everybody was trying to plan trips to Bali in Indonesia, I guess, and now they are feeling a bit conflicted about that. But anyway,
it's not just people who would be planning trips there, it's people who, I don't know, maybe this is a weird concept to you, but people who have empathy for other people living in different countries that might be dealing with, I don't know, certain draconian laws being imposed on them. Sometimes empathy is a pretty good reason to be more than a little sad that a bad thing is happening in another country.
before we get into the story, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to this
Nope, don't do that. Like and subscribe to my channel instead. Blah.
plus membership, and if contest, you can jump on premarital sexual encounters. I first saw this through a post from Daily Loud. They said Indonesia has banned sex outside of marriage and banned unmarried couples from living together.
So this just in. I think this is an issue that I have as well, but you will never be able to unhear this after I point it out to you. But I'm going to hit back by 5 seconds, and, well, 10 seconds, and you're going to listen to Brett Cooper again. And this has nothing to do with her argument, but I want you to hear the snorting in everything she says. I don't know why this is sticking out to me, but just listen to her nasal passages as she speaks, and you will never be able to unhear that noise.
Of premarital sexual encounters. I first saw this through a post from Daily Loud. They said Indonesia has banned sex outside of marriage and banned unmarried couples from living together.
And now, you will never be able to unhear that noise. Never. And now you'll be hyper aware of it every time you listen to one of my videos and you try to hear me do the same thing, because I guarantee you I have the same problem. But my ears are now focused on it, and I can't. I just can't. Anywho, let's continue.
These laws apply to both citizens and foreigners, tourists. Those convicted will face up to 1 year in jail.
So let's say that you happen to be with a polyamorous partner and therefore are not married with that partner, but you go to Indonesia for any reason as a foreigner, then you can go to jail for up to a year for doing what you normally would do elsewhere, just having sex with your partner. If that doesn't sound stupid to you, then I really don't think I can be much help. Sex between two consenting parties is a largely harmless activity. So the idea that it needs to be heavily restricted by a government is absolutely fucking ludicrous. Like, seriously, what is the benefit? If you like freedom, if you claim to be of a party that enjoys freedom, enjoys restricting the power of government, how do you see something like this and go, aha, based? How the fuck do you do that? How the fuck do you manage that? How do you go, as most people in the Daily Wire are, tout themselves as being, how do you go from being the people of small government and individual freedom to actually restricting the freedoms of individuals is good because religiosity or some shit?
So then I thought, is this a joke? What is this? I never even heard of Daily Loud. Somebody just retweeted it, so it popped up on my feed. But this is from Fox News. They said, on Tuesday, Indonesia's parliament approved a new criminal code banning sex outside of marriage, which carries a punishment for up to 1 year in jail. The new code, passed with support from all political parties, also prohibits cohabitation between unmarried couples. The code will apply to Indonesians and foreigners and comes despite concerns that the laws could keep tourists away and harm investments.
I mean, it's not just going to keep tourists away. Like, this literally just harms the populace. The fact that multiple people in politics are okay with this is beyond me. Now, I know that there's the basic argument that somebody might have that, hey, actually, you are just talking from a Western perspective, and therefore what you're saying is wrong. You need to think about the, customs and traditions of that country. I don't know how to tell you, but I don't give a shit about the customs and traditions of any country, even my own. I don't know how to tell you this, but customs and traditions can go suck my left nut. They've always been able to suck my left nut. The right one, too, for good measure. It gets lonely. I don't know how to tell you that I value individual human rights more than I value culture. Culture is something we fucking made up. Culture is something that we shape every single day. People live and breathe now, irrespective of culture.
The country already bans adultery, but had not done the same for premarital sex. Malana Yusran, deputy chief of Indonesia's tourism industry board, said that the new code was, quote, totally counterproductive during a time when the country's economy and tourism was just beginning to recover from the coronavirus pandemic.
I just have to say this. How much brain rot do you have to have from capitalism where actually restricting human rights would be really inconvenient right now because it would negatively affect our tourism industry? How is that the most prominent response here?
Quote, we deeply regret how the government has closed their eyes. We have already expressed our concern to the Ministry of Tourism about how harmful this law is, he said. The tourism factor is actually very surprising to me because, like, everybody and their mother wants to go to Bali for, like, a vacation, honeymoon, whatever. So, guys, when you are planning your next romantic getaway to Bali, don't be thinking that you can run around naked on the beaches of Indonesia. Like, make sure you are packing some pajamas so that you stay fully clothed. I actually have some great pajamas for you.
That had nothing to do with fucking pajamas and shit, and it's just a it's just for a plug. Something DDLG Playground, 10% off, coupon code Suris. Go screw yourself, dildos. That fun stuff. Let's keep going.
Keep on when you are visiting Bali. So it does seem a bit weird, but you know what? I don't really care. They're doing what feels right for their culture, so...
No. Have empathy for the people who actually live there. Have empathy for the people who are affected by this. Don't be like, I don't care. It doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect things that I care about. I'm sorry. No, Brett. Other living, breathing human beings who have to deal with draconian laws like this, they are as much people as you are. I'm not asking you to do anything about this. I would merely be asking you as a content creator, as somebody on a public stage, don't just sit there and go, I don't care about your issues. Not my issues.
So, not up to me to decide, but the U.S. ambassador to Indonesia, Sung Kim, said criminalizing the personal decisions of individuals would loom large with the decision matrix of many companies determining whether to invest in Indonesia. Again,
I hate that this is the angle that has to be taken. If it's the angle that gets people their human rights, sure, what the fuck ever, but I hate that the angle about protecting people's human rights has to stem from the idea of monetary gain. How's it going, Everett GA?
The code is part of several new laws that critics say imposes on civil liberties, along with bans on black magic, insulting the president or state institutions, spreading views counter to state ideology, and staging protests without notification.
Wow. That is very restrictive. Holy shit.
basically, what Parliament is doing in Indonesia is just coming down hard on, legislating what they see as their moral code, their moral compass. And you know what? For their country, that is totally fine.
You dumb fucking bitch. How do you not understand that this country is just legislating what it feels right is an intellectual dead end? How do you not see that? If our country legislated slavery and said that was an okay thing to do, would you just be like, well, our country is just doing what it feels is right? Technically, you would be somewhat kind of in a malformed way, maybe a little correct. But it wouldn't make it a good thing. It wouldn't make it a thing to be celebrated. The fucking shit is wrong with you? A country that feels like it needs to legislate against black magic. What the fuck is black magic? Can anybody demonstrate that shit even existing? Can anybody demonstrate any plausible way that actually, is done and matters literally ever? No, they can't. Why do you look at that and just go, no, that's fine. Black magic can mean fucking anything.
I saw this on Daily Loud, like I said, and I was kind of tentatively scrolling down, but I was shocked that the two top replies that I saw were these. Good to see some countries still being serious about culture and tradition. Another comment read, unpopular opinion, but this is a good law. We need this in the US. There will be less one-parent households. Like, I did not even have to scroll more than 2 fingers to see those 2 top comments. I mean, I was shocked. Obviously.
But how do you feel about those comments?
There were responses like this too. Somebody said, buying my ex-girlfriend and her new boyfriend flights to Indonesia. Somebody else said, I can't believe they made the horny jail into a real thing. It really is just good for my own entertainment and enjoyment. But then I...
Could maybe you tell us if you agree, though? Could maybe you tell us if you have an opinion on whether or not we should have those kinds of draconian laws in the United States? Maybe instead of cracking jokes about this really important human rights violation in Indonesia, maybe it would be a good idea to offer some perspective or opinion that is, more, a little less milquetoast than it's a different country, so I don't care.
I saw comments on like the Fox News article and the New York Times article where people were really getting riled up about it. It was all like privileged Americans being like, how could they do this backwards country? This is just a glimpse of what rule under Christian nationalism would look like in this country.
I mean, yeah, that is... Like, literally, we have tried in years past to have these kinds of laws on the books in the United States, back when the United States churches had a stronger stranglehold over its political institutions. Now, they still have a strong stranglehold over its political institutions, but it's less so now than it's been in years past. Yes, this is what a theocracy would look like, Brett. Could you offer an opinion?
Back to the Middle Ages, somebody else said Singapore is the same way, as if that stopped me. Like, okay, good for you, dude, I guess. But what always shocks me...
I'm glad she can at least offer an opinion on the people who say things she doesn't agree with.
...is the people in the West think that we are so high and mighty, we are so developed, we are so progressive, and they look down upon the rest of the world that is much more traditional. This is not an abnormal law. Michael Knowles actually just did a debate with an abortion activist, but they got into many other issues and cultural issues, and one of which was talking about, the culture surrounding sex. And then the woman brought up, like, well, do you think you would just ban sex? Like, you could never do that. And Michael was like, no, in like half of the other countries in the world, like premarital sex is banned, anal sex is banned, even in some states here. Like, it's a pretty normal thing outside of our culture. And
okay, so can we point out that this argument is fucking stupid? I hate to poison the well by saying it's stupid before I give the reason why, but let me explain. The reason this argument is stupid is the point she is trying to make is that, well, actually, this is normal. Well, actually, this happens in more places than you think. Well, actually, I don't care. Slavery could be legal in the entire world and it wouldn't make it moral. Slavery could be legal in every single city and it wouldn't make it moral. Murder could be legal in every single city and it wouldn't make it moral. The morality, the goodness of an action or a law is not measured by how many countries have adopted that law. That is both an argument from tradition fallacy and an argumentum ad populum fallacy. I care not the number and I care not how old. I merely care what is the material effect on people and the material effect of reducing their human rights for arbitrary reasons, like culture and tradition and what have you. The effect of that is negative. Because when you do that, you do not get people who think for themselves. You get people who are forced to think the way that a government wants them to think, solely, exclusively. And it is so strange to me, even if not a little unsurprising, that people who, again, claim so often to be the party that is for individual rights, for freedom of choice and speech, and for being free thinkers, somehow always manage to be on the fucking side of this draconian shit. Idiots who listen to the Daily Wire. You! I'm talking to you, stupid! When you decide that these are the people who are based, who are red-pilled, who are the people that know better and you need to be following them, and oh my god, aren't they just so fucking smart? I want you to remember shit like this. I want you to remember that these are the people who use the language of freedom of speech, the language of individual choice, the language of being free thinkers in order to actually push being conformists to theocracy. Please. Think about that. Let's see the last bit that Brett has to say before we close this out.
She was like, I just don't believe that. It just goes to show how disconnected we are, and it's kind of laughable in a way. I mean, we talked about that with the World Cup happening in Qatar and all of these, privileged Americans coming in being like, I'm going to disrespect all of your whatever. It's just a normal thing, I guess. Anyway, obviously, this is a very nuanced issue.
No, it's not. It's not a nuanced issue. You can say it's a nuanced issue as a way to hide behind the very obvious position to take here. The obvious position to take is the position that maximizes freedom and goodwill between people. And the position that maximizes freedom between people and goodwill between people is the one that gives them their individual freedoms to do what they want with their partners. That it's an obvious take, and yet you find yourself going like, I'm not going to comment on those tweets, and it's a real complicated issue, and it's another culture, and intellectual dead end after intellectual dead end from an intellectual bell end.
I think hookup culture is disastrous for society and our physical and mental well-being. I've also read the studies about divorce rates when you live together before marriage versus not. I think it's fascinating, but
It's also fascinating when you realize that divorce rates don't mean shit. Divorce is not a good or bad thing. Divorce is just two people breaking up. That can be good, that can be bad. But it also doesn't fucking matter.
Do I care whether you do that? No. Do I care whether you have sex before marriage? Obviously not. Do I want to stop people from doing that? Not really. It's your life. I do not care.
Well, live and let live.
Then you could have said so about another country that is doing exactly that.
I say.
But if this works for Indonesian culture, that's totally fine. Like, the Western world does not need to come in with some, quote, this is very woke of me, white savior, Western savior complex to free these people from their oppressive whatever. No, we're just kind of like degenerates. Just saying. And not every country and culture has the same opinions and values when it comes to sex and how that relates to freedom and personal choice and that sort of thing. And you know what? That's totally fine.
I want to agree with you. But when it comes to things that affect real people, some cultures are just wrong. Some people are just wrong. Everybody has their own opinion. Oh no, look at me. Right. And contrary to what the dictionary will try to tell you, opinions can be wrong. It is not cowardly to take a stance on something like this. In fact, I'd say it's a little cowardly not to. Don't hide behind this cultural relativism bullshit. People are people. Humans are humans. We thrive in the same goddamn conditions, irrespective of our cultures. Yeah, some people in some cultures may be more introverted or more brash or what have you, but a fucking right is a right. It doesn't matter where you are geographically. The dirt under your feet doesn't make a human right more or less. But this is where I throw it back to you guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you haven't already, subscribe if you haven't already, and please don't fall into cultural relativism dumb shit. Insert end the video tagline here.